We've got a theory. Every world leader is actually a psycho who's playing a big game of Risk.
Psycho Risk.
Psycho Risk has started.
It's the game of Psycho Risk.
Last year was just a little slow. So like this year, 2026, let's all start a new game on this board. Starting with Trump and his favorite territory, Venezuela, apparently.
Lemonade Stand's goal for 2026, capture all the world leaders, kidnap them, and then put them in a room with this game. And then we'll turn everything
And then we get
around.
all the cards and we can get a unit bonus.
Why doesn't the world solve things with a champion? You elect a champion, like the movie Troy.
Whatever happened to champions?
I do think that would solve a lot of things. I'm like, if everybody just had one champion.
There's more serious things to talk about, but France quietly moved the G Summit date to not conflict with the UFC event happening at the White House. Unironically, they're like, fuck, we got to move this. Like UFC events in the White House are taking precedent over major world leaders. So in theory, every country sends a champion.
Oh, to the UFC event.
To the UFC event. And that's how we solve the problems.
I just think that would reshuffle the world in a way we don't necessarily want. The world's best UFC fighters and the governments that I want to own the most land.
Wait, Russia's on top. The hierarchy of the world is like Russia, but actually like Dagestan.
Wait, is Russia on top of UFC?
And then
Iceland comes out because they have the huge guy, right?
Yeah,
from Game of Thrones.
Iceland,
they come out with the
Iceland
new
is
leader.
punching way above its weight. And then Brazil's in there. This
would be a sick shuffling of the world order.
It's a way different world.
It would be a shuffling. I don't know how good it would be.
Yeah, sick in the more literal sense, by the way.
It would be sick.
It's kind of psycho.
But yeah, I mean, like I do think, okay, even we're gonna talk about the geopolitics stuff, I think, first, because it's kind of the big issue. But you're talking about this UFC thing. Just as you guys fully understand, this is probably one of the most insane 2-week periods
of the year.
Very good. Give me
You don't need it,
bro. That I feel like we've been through it a long time. Like last January was insane, but it was mostly because the LA fires, and I don't remember like this many things every single day being a major event, especially worldwide. So we're gonna talk about that, but there's a lot of domestic stuff we can discuss, and there's the UFC event we're gonna spend 40 minutes on talking about who's gonna win.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And
Jerome Powell versus Trump at the White House.
Jerome, dude,
honestly,
that would be the best champion.
Honestly, a toss-up.
They put the card up. It was on X.
Jerome Powell height. How is? Okay.
I think Jerome Powell's fiercer, but he doesn't have the weight.
The benefit to Jerome Powell, he's a lot younger than Trump. He's only 72.
He's a silver fox.
He'll get him with his speed.
All right, let's follow up with Venezuela. I have a theory.
It's been 1 week.
And I don't think anybody else has said it. Correct me if I'm wrong, because you're covering it more.
Okay.
I think this is actually about oil. And so here's a couple of dozen articles that reinforce that idea, okay? So this was a particular angle with the Venezuela thing I wanted to look into that I think is interesting. Obviously, huge development right now. According to the Venezuelan government, as of the past few days, they're in control. There's no external party that is in control of Venezuela. At the same time, Trump and the United States military.
This is the right-hand woman of Maduro.
Right,
Delcy
the
Rodriguez.
vice president who replaced, everything is the same except that she came in as vice president.
And now she is in control.
She is in control.
Same party's in control.
But in quote, we are here governing alongside the people and no one else. There is no external agent governing Venezuela. That is from the now president Rodriguez of Venezuela. At the same time, Trump and our military is stating, we are going to control all exports out of the country. And so particularly with oil. And that seems to be the big play that is happening right now, where you might have heard that we've seized oil tankers. The whole thing is any oil tankers that try to get to Venezuela to deliver oil to anywhere else, regardless of country, basically, we are literally seizing. There was this like crazy, there is a website called Tanker Traffic that tracks, or Tanker Tracker that tracks this, and you can watch these like live drama chases around the Atlantic Ocean.
They chased one of them? Yeah, the Russian one?
Yeah,
they chased it around. Dude, it was like looping and looping for days.
And then it changed its flag to be like, no, we're Russian now. That's cool. And turns out that doesn't help. Yeah, actually, we don't like that.
Yeah, they were Venezuelan flagged, and they changed to Russia halfway through the voyage to be like, you're not going to get us now.
Just cycling flags on the back to see what gets them to stop.
Apparently, they painted the side of the tanker as Russian.
That's like from the movie, like Lord of War. Like they do that in a movie where they like change it, the flags mid.
Yeah. So the justification for this is the U.S. is saying Venezuela is sanctioned. You can't come in if you are Russia or China or Iran or whatever. You cannot come in and transport oil. So the big player here. The big key chip that is being played is the oil side. So what has actually happened with oil? It's pretty obvious oil's a big part of it. So on Friday, Trump had a meeting with 20 oil executives at the White House this past Friday. And the whole thing was he's going to try to convince them to invest in Venezuela. And it pretty much went exactly the way you would think with Trump, where he makes a lot of promises that are vague. Everybody in the meeting makes a lot of promises that are vague. He comes out of the meeting and says, everybody's down. We've got this locked in, and nothing has actually happened, or there's no clarity after this.
Dude, the best part of that meeting was when Rubio hands him a little note. Did you see that?
No.
Rubio hands him a little note that says, go back to Chevron and ask this thing. And then Trump looks, it's supposed to be a secret. He looks at it and reads it out loud. It was fire. It was gas, dude.
So Trump's doing all sorts of Trumpy things. There's a couple funny notes from it that I think.
Okay.
So he tells the executives when he gets them all in a room, if you don't want to go in to Venezuela, just let me know, because I've got 25 people that aren't here today that are willing to take your place. So they start talking, and he says, we need $100 billion of investment in Venezuela. Again, the Venezuela oil infrastructure is in shambles, right?
Yeah.
It hasn't been well maintained. So the idea is not we go in and take the oil. It's we go in with American companies and invest a giant amount of money to rebuild it, right? Exxon Chief Executive Officer Darren Woods expresses strongest reservations. He says, if you look at the legal and commercial constructs and frameworks in place in Venezuela today, it's uninvestable. He brings up the fact that Exxon's stuff was just taken by the government twice before. Exxon has tried to operate in Venezuela, and in the early 2000s, when Hugo Chavez was still in charge, he just took all their stuff. So he said, how durable are the protections from a financial standpoint? What will the returns look like? What are the commercial arrangements, the legal frameworks? All of those things have to be put in place in order to make a decision to understand what your return would be over the next several decades.
It's interesting. I wanted to jump on that point because I saw there's two reasons here. Because I saw that quote and then I also saw a reaction on Twitter that was pretty popular, which is they took part of this quote and was like, see, the oil companies don't even want to go. So that's another reason none of this even made any sense, which I can understand a sense of frustration, especially if you're frustrated by the broader issue of us taking this action to begin with, right? And there was a follow-up to though, where Darren Woods said, he did say today it's uninvestable, but he said we're confident that this administration and President Trump working hand in hand with the Venezuelan government, that those changes can be put in place, the changes that would get us to invest there. It's funny also though. So it's there's this expression from him that the quote isn't simply oh, we're not going because you didn't open the door for us. It's provided the right steps are taken, we will invest money in Venezuela, or we will set up some sort of operation there. But Trump still didn't like that response. And the next day, even that slight nod in the direction of it's not investable right now, Trump was didn't like what the Exxon guy had to say. Even though he totally acknowledged that they would take that step forward in the future.
I didn't like their response. They're playing too cute. It's just a fucking wild thing to say.
Okay, so there was a bit of the history around the nationalization of oil that I wanted to touch on here, because there's a bunch of steps here in history. I forgive me, I can't say it in the way that they call it locally, but the PDVSA is the national oil company in Venezuela, right?
Okay,
and this was came to be, I think, in the mid 70s after.
Give it a shot. There it is.
No, I wasn't thinking of this. They have I think it's PDVSA or something like that.
All right, and leave a comment on
pass.
how good his pronunciation was.
But this is the national oil company in Venezuela that was created in, I believe, the 70s to overtake the ownership or operations from the American companies that had originally been there to build up the oil industry starting back in the 20s in Venezuela. So, but when they nationalized initially, they still kept all of the American companies involved in pretty significant capacities. It ebbed and flowed over time, and as we got further into the 20th century, they increased the American companies' involvement. And also, as a result, over that time period, output in Venezuela increased greatly through that time period as well. If you look like pushing to 2000, that is when like oil production is the highest. But I think what happened over the course of like the
graph up, it's exactly that. You see, so this is a graph of the amount of imports of Venezuela oil to the US, and you can see in like 70s and 80s it's getting there, and then from 90 to like 97 it just skyrockets, and we are just getting a ton of oil from Venezuela. It starts plummeting in 2005 when the nationalization starts, and then becomes zero.
Yeah, this is the U.S. imports.
Right. So
Total production in Venezuela is skyrocketing towards the 20th century. But that isn't the only marker for success, right? The original intentions of nationalization is to take more firm control of your resource and have those benefits like passed down more concretely to the country. But as the American company involvement in the national oil production became more significant, less and less of the benefit from the average person was being seen from that oil. That's the argument at the time, and why Chavez was able to step up and make this argument for full nationalization again, where he, unless you meet these like really strict terms, we're kicking you guys out, and we're not like buying out your equipment, we're not buying out the resources that you had invested here. And one thing I didn't know is that ExxonMobil, one of the other companies, all of these companies leave because they don't want to take like Chavez's version of the deal, except Chevron. Yeah. Chevron still operates in Venezuela now, which I did not know until like a few days ago.
They're like Goldfinger. Like they somehow survived through each change in Venezuela.
Yes.
Like apparently they're just like really politically adept in Venezuela. They're the only American company that got to stay.
So they were willing to take this deal where they don't have any direct ownership over the oil fields. They don't have any direct ownership over the oil. They don't even necessarily get paid in cash. They get paid. Goldfinger. I was trying to tie it together.
I was like, that's James Bond.
They don't even get paid in cash necessarily a lot of the time. They just get comped in product of crude oil after like taxes in crude oil are accounted for and all these things. Chevron basically saw it as like, we'll meet all these terms for like a long-term holdout of eventually more normal operations will return to Venezuela at some point. So we're willing to maintain this like little foot in the door that we have and accommodate you guys in whatever way we can, because eventually we see there will be opportunity in the future. And I, under this, pretty much this whole time, thought all of the oil companies had been like kicked out, but they had agreed to this like really stringent version of the deal. And so what ends up happening, right, is all of these American companies and their infrastructure basically get kicked out or don't accept that deal at the time. The oil revenue that's coming in there's this surge in oil spending under Chavez towards things like social programs and things that like benefit the average person, right? But this leaves behind, they don't reinvest back into PDVSA anymore. They're not investing in that infrastructure. They're like losing like production knowledge. And there's also this huge internal worker strike in 2002 or 2003, where like 18,000 national oil company workers in Venezuela go on strike and reduce production in the country to basically nothing at the time. And then they all get fired and replaced by people more sympathetic to the Chavez government that's in charge at the time. So what remaining expertise that they have from like their own Venezuelan citizens at the time gets pushed out through the firing of all of these striking employees. And so they're left with like very little knowledge and investment to maintain what remains of the oil industry after that. And their oil production within the country just slumps. Like it's gone down very consistently since that sort of 2002, 2003 period. And I vaguely understood these things like going into us like making these decisions, but little niche things like, oh, well, Chevron managed to hang on and like found its way in still somehow, hoping basically for a moment like this where they get to be in the room with Trump and like the doors to investment are back open. I didn't know things like that.
Yeah, I mean, Doug, are you seeing, like, my takeaway was Trump It's funny because, we all watched the press conference after Maduro, and he said oil a million times, and he said it's about oil. He just did this long 20,000 word interview with the New York Times, and they asked him directly, was it the oil that made a big difference to you? And he's like, no, oil happened to be there.
Yeah.
He said,
that's a nice
and that's
surprise.
fine. He said, we didn't even know about all the oil that was there. Which is like, I guess based on who he's talking to, he changes his mind. But my takeaway is like, okay, he would like to have a bunch of American companies come. He just did this. Can you show my screen? He just had a executive order blocking courts from seizing. It's the wrong one again. Damn. Anyway, Trump had an executive order that blocked courts from seizing Venezuelan oil revenue that is now in U.S. accounts. So all the oil that currently exists that we're getting on tankers, we are seizing it and we are selling it, and the money's going to American accounts to be used either in whatever their plans are for Venezuela or for reimbursing or whatever.
UFC fight.
Maybe UFC fight. And Venezuelan courts can't seize it. American courts can't seize it. No one can use it for anything that is owed. He gets to have it for his whatever slush fund. So my understanding is he would like them to come in and start pumping oil, but all the oil companies, except for maybe Chevron, are saying this is too risky.
Yes.
Because number one, the government hasn't changed. They could seize it again. Number two, the political situation on the ground is like there's more crackdowns this week than there was the week before Maduro was gone. Like to keep order, like they're doing more crackdowns.
Yeah.
And there's a chance that if we try to build there could be, there's like these roaming gangs of colectivos that are my understanding is there's a Game of Thrones power struggle going on in Venezuela right now between Delcy Rodriguez and the guy that's backed by Alex Saab that has like these colectivos. And like, he's kind of angling for more power. And that guy could make your life hell if you're trying to build there. Like all this stuff is still happening. And
Trump tried to wave this off too. The concerns, right? He said that they'll all have, quote, total safety, and that these are some people that drill oil in some pretty rough places. I could say a couple of those places make Venezuela look like a picnic.
Yeah, but my understanding is like ExxonMobil's POV is like, we're actually drilling where there's a picnic. Like they're drilling in the Permian Basin right now to do shale, and it's easy as hell, and the oil is already doesn't need to be refined, and it's great, and they're loving it. And that's what they're at big expansion plans. So if they're going to spend $100 billion to build in Venezuela, they need to have more guarantees that might require, and this is why this Venezuela thing, regardless of how you feel about Maduro, I'm negative on, is because those guarantees require like more from the U.S., like boots on the ground or like.
Okay.
Okay. I want to hear.
So first off, there's a funny thing. Again, all the oil companies, the big ones, were in Venezuela, and they had all their shit just straight up taken. And they're in Exxon's case twice. They like went in again. They're like, we trust you this time.
Yeah. It was that first nationalization in like the 70s where they did it, and then they they took it again in 1999.
That's why China, by the way, the smart. Listen, if you're going to nationalize, the way China does it is the smartest one, because they do these. I don't know what they're called. It's
loan for oil, you mean?
No, it's like they force you into a joint subsidiary company thing. Like when Disney built Disney in Shanghai, they own 49% of it. Chinese local company gets 51%. They learn the expertise. That is how they did it. They made it so that the outside company can come in and make money, but the ownership is always 51% the local Chinese company, and it's part of the rules. They have to share the expertise.
Okay, two counterpoints to the hesitation from oil companies. So first off, there's a quote here from Bloomberg. At one point, Trump asked Ryan Lance, one of the oil CEOs, how much the company had lost in Venezuela, prompting the ConocoPhillips CEO to say it had taken a $12 billion loss. Trump says it's a good write-off.
The tax write-off?
Yeah.
He's gonna change the tax code or something.
No, just look, if your company so it's quite obvious. If I make whatever $500,000 this year on YouTube, but somebody comes in and robs $500,000, I don't have to pay taxes now. It's great.
That's true.
Right? So first off, obviously wonderful strategy, but that was clearly a joke. And then
when Venezuela nationalizes Doug's YouTube channel. And it does beg the question, if Doug's YouTube channel is under the ground in Venezuela, who is the rights to said thing?
I can't wait to see Delcy Rodriguez playing Skyrim.
I don't know if you guys know this. Like the first couple of videos I did on my channel were pre-edited, and I found them in a mine in Latin America.
Oh yeah. I remember.
But I got there first. I deserve it.
You deserve it.
I deserve it. Yeah.
No, that makes sense. And you gave a bunch of people smallpox along the way, which I thought was fucked up. But yeah.
So here's the counter argument. On the one side, you're like, look, the oil companies don't want to go in. The existing government hasn't changed very much. So what is the U.S. doing to exert control and to potentially convince the oil companies to invest? The big thing is this blockade. They are saying, I mean, we are explicitly, the military said, like, you cannot get tankers in and out of Venezuela. The U.S. is going to be the only one that determines where the oil goes. So even though the U.S. has no longer had oil presence in Venezuela over the last decade or two, right? Russia and China have, right? Venezuela has still been selling oil. That is still their national lifeline. That's where they make most of the money to even function at a baseline as a government, right? Like that's still critical to their country. And up until now, past couple of years in particular, Russia and China have been partnering with them for oil. There's a crazy stat I didn't realize. Between 2000 and 2023, so like for 23 years, Venezuela was the fourth largest recipient of China's official credit, receiving $106 billion worth of loans from Chinese official sector creditors. That's crazy. So you have two of these countries that, in the wake of America pulling out and doing these sanctions with Venezuela, have been going in and filling that gap, right? And what the U.S. military is doing right now is saying, you guys can't do that. So not only is it, a fuck you to China and Russia who want oil, and there's various cascading effects. In fact, let me move the cannon and the horse into the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. If the U.S. says you cannot get oil tankers here, we're the only ones that are going to allow oil in and out, even if American troops aren't in Venezuela on the ground, Venezuela as a country cannot fund almost anything unless they agree to go through what the U.S. government wants. And if Trump goes to them and says, we will only allow oil to be sold out of your country if you make sure that Exxon and Chevron and X and Y and Z get to operate there, that is a type of pressure that isn't military, but the government there is like, we cannot do anything. If we put ships fucking outside the Atlantic and stop anyone else from taking oil, Venezuela can't really do anything. That would be the argument. And that's explicitly what the U.S. military and Trump have been saying.
Right, but the argument there is that the escalating internal chaos within Venezuela is then they can just figure it out, resolve it, and do what he's asking. But really, if they're cut off from resources and all of the little oil that currently exists has been seized and put in a U.S. account, like it's just, the expectation is that things just get worse there. Like it just gets worse. It gets more chaotic. Then nothing gets done. Like it gets more fractured. The Delcy Rodriguez's tenuous grip on power falls apart. Which, by the way, from a moral POV, the only way this is even remotely acceptable is when you were saying that Maduro stole an election. We're going to get rid of him and change things so they could have elections in democratic place in Venezuela. If you're doing it from a pure, like, we are stealing the oil and we're going to blockade this country until you do exactly what we say, not only is there not a single out of morality there, but I don't think it's going to work. Like, yes, Delcy Rodriguez is probably going to try and do what Trump says. But what is her capability? Well, how is she going to get this over the line?
Oh, you don't think a strong, powerful woman can make change?
I think the situation in Venezuela is really bad. Like my understanding is that even in this past week, they've had to ramp up the amount of crackdowns, not only on journalists, but on in the city streets of Caracas, because people they're still poor. They're still nothing has gotten better in Venezuela. It was only held together by the strongman Maduro. And, I guess I just don't see it just turning out magically well, but maybe. Part of it depends on how the oil revenue is shared back with Venezuela, and part of it is, I'll steelman it. I'll do my best steelman, which is if Marco Rubio, who I think is much smarter than Trump, has a plan here. It's okay, we can't give it to Machado yet, because she doesn't have the support of the military.
Meaning the country?
The country.
Okay.
She won the election, but we cannot give her the power because
again, her party won the election.
Her party won the election, and she does not have the support of the military, which is what we need to make sure this doesn't become another Iraq. So we're going to seize the oil, we're going to put the pressure on, and we're going to use this money essentially as almost like bribes to slowly but surely change the behavior of those in power in Venezuela to be amenable to elections.
Yes, that is their goal. Yeah.
Right. And so that is there's 10 question marks from here to there that we have now inherited as a country because of this gamble. But yes, theoretically, I see that plan.
Another counterpoint. So after this meeting on Friday, where Trump meets all the oil executives, and his goal is to get them to firmly commit to $100 billion collectively of investment to get this thing going, right? They come out of the deal. Only Chevron has a specific pledge to do anything. None of the other ones do. None of the other 19 who are there. But Trump says, in quote, "We sort of formed a deal." So think about it.
They're oil companies, right? If Chevron gets in there and it starts working, then everyone will fucking jump on board. But
it also makes sense that Chevron was the only one that said yes. Right?
That's their gamble. They're
like they were hoping. They were waiting.
Well, it's not they were hoping. They're the only ones who they've been doing it. They're there, built up, ready to go, and they can expand. And that's very different than Exxon, who's been broken up with twice by Venezuela, going in for a third round at the relationship. I mean, for what it's worth, I agree with everything Trump does, and I think this is going to work.
Right. Can I do a broader? I heard this guy Brian Winter. He's a American journalist who did 2 or 3 decades in Latin America, and he ghost wrote the biographies of 2 Latin American presidents and Pele, the greatest soccer player. So he's like deep involved, and he was right. He wrote this long piece about what's going on in Latin America, and a couple things were eye opening for me, and I wanted to kind of share them.
Yeah.
Which is one is that. Latin America for the 70s till now, massive wave of like mostly left-leaning politics, right? That's like that. The key celebrity figure would be like Castro, and a lot of things were similar to that.
And
I feel like Chavez is up there.
And Chavez,
Chavez,
right?
Super influential.
But he's just noticing the trend. There has been a big rightward surge in Latin America in recent years. And he pointed to one specific thing, which is causing a lot of change.
Illegal American migrants.
That's the one. They're searching over they're coming from the asylums. No, he said, and this tracks with other things I've seen from different, like putting web of stories together. The cocaine trade in the past 10 years has become gargantuan. Like Europe, Brazil, and America are all consuming like 5, 6, 7x amount of cocaine they used to. Like the cocaine trade has gotten absurd. It's so profitable, and it has become such a blight on Latin America that's caused so much crime that people are like at their wits' end and trying to go for like more strongman authority, whatever can crack down. Like that is his big takeaway. That's like one of the big things.
I mean, I could see that. That's kind of the rationalization from like people who are local in El Salvador, right? Because I think we look at the prison system there that was put into place, and it's incredibly harsh. Tons of human rights groups have come to basically criticize and complain about it. That insane 60 Minutes piece that came out recently, the one that was not broadcast in the US, showing the conditions that people are put into there. Like it's absolutely absurd, right? But the argument, when you listen to people who have lived in El Salvador or fled El Salvador, from their perspective, is that now it's safe. Like I was willing to tolerate this crackdown because the amount of violence was so bad that they don't, like, these people who were killing people, like these murderers in the streets, like need to be put away at whatever cost necessary because like life was untenable before.
So that is the exact argument he made. He said El Salvador is the new, like Bukele of El Salvador and maybe Milei of Argentina are like the new celebrity leaders of South America in a way that Castro and Chavez might have been in the past. And people are saying, I don't like the violations in El Salvador, but he's getting results. Like that this is just a matter of reporting. Like this is the boots on the ground reality is what this trend is going. And so you can see a world where not Brazil's still Lula, but you can see a world where a lot of these economies are flipping to more Trump-friendly regimes. Mm-hmm. And it's fitting into his larger Dawn Road doctrine, North and South America thing. Like I can see some of that. And
sorry, continue.
Well, I was going to say, we could use this as a transition to other parts of the world because I do think.
My last note I wanted to put on this is the thing that I think really ties into maybe some of the other parts we will talk about, which is it's not just about oil in the sense that we need more of this resource that goes into cars and plastics. It's not just about that. It's the idea of controlling your like political sphere of influence and constraining the influence of Russia and China and putting pressure on them. It's not just about having the oil, more oil, so we can make the companies happy and do more with it. Because there's a bunch of places in the world that have oil. So why is it Venezuela specifically that these actions are getting taken against, right?
Dude, one thing about that, we've all heard the stat that Venezuela has the largest proven oil reserves in the world. You've seen the chart where it's like, well, it's being called into question in this week after the Maduro's capture, where people looked into the stat or where it came from, and it's like that stat did not exist until Chavez, and it's only self-reported by PDVSA. So people got the stat from OPEC, and they asked OPEC, where'd you get it from? Like, we just asked PDVSA. And they asked them, they're like, we just sort of had a mandate to say that during, like, they have a lot of oil, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But the idea that Venezuela has more than Saudi Arabia is now, it's probably not true.
Brought into question or something?
It's brought into question. Like, it might have been a bit of an exaggeration for political purposes.
Like,
that is just stuck around.
Rapid fire question. What is the most embarrassing subscription you accidentally paid for that you didn't realize?
The embarrassing thing is the amount. I have this is not a joke. I have like $600 a month in new subscriptions.
Dude, what is wrong with
it? It is absurd. And like some of them are like Nikkei Asia that I have not read an article from in 2 years. So Rocket Money is the only thing that helps me out in these situations. I can't track them down.
I don't think you're using it. $600?
Yeah, the truth is,
I use it.
Every time I use it, I end up adding 3 more.
What are you doing?
Here's I was using YouTube TV for a long time, which is a pretty expensive subscription. Finally got rid of it because of Rocket Money. I was like, oh, I'm just pitching $90 away for a service I don't use. Huge savings. Or you could be like Atrioc. You could get Rocket Money, have everything congregate in one place.
How much feel like I have more money to spend on news than subscribe to 10 more things, then cancel them.
If you want to use Rocket Money, you can try Rocket Money for free at rocketmoney.com/lemonade. Uh-oh. Look who's doubling up. It's Aiden doing 2 Quo Ad reads in a couple weeks. And you know why? It's because everybody that he works with in his life needs to use this software. It thankfully congregates a bunch of different communication in one platform so you don't miss things like calls, messages from different platforms, like maybe WhatsApp, like your texts, like Slack. And it's interesting in that I'm surrounded by people who use all of these messaging platforms and don't check any of them.
Have you ever heard of the thing where if everybody around you has a problem?
None of them check.
We want names.
If they had one place to check, maybe they would respond to me. Maybe they would. If they used Quo, Q-U-O.
Maybe it's not everybody around him having the problem. Maybe he's the problem. Maybe they respond to everybody.
Yeah, there's a common denominator.
Make this year where no opportunity and no customer slips away. Try Quo for free, plus get 20% off your first 6 months when you go to quo.com/lemonade. That's QUO.com/lemonade. Quo, no missed calls, no missed customers.
Ludwig's not going to call you, whether or not you use Quo.
He will.
But if he may call you,
he'll call me.
So, I mean, let's transition this. We're talking about psycho risk. This is Trump's strat, right? So not only does he get oil from Venezuela, what are you specifically doing to harm Russia and China? Like, why does this matter? Right? Which is what we're getting at, which is over the past 10-ish years, as American companies have stopped buying the oil and it has stopped flowing to America and these sanctions have done damage, Russia and China can then go to Venezuela and buy oil for cheaper, right? Because by definition, Venezuela has less people to sell to. So it's been great for them and they've invested a ton. I looked into this, neither China nor Russia have actual like fully owned companies in Venezuela, but it's part ownership. Like you said, they go in and they do joint ventures and they've put a bunch of
joint ventures. That's the word I was looking for.
Joint ventures. And now they just can't, like those joint ventures can't send oil out anymore. And so this is a big hit. So if you're, if you're Russia, what are you doing in this game of psycho risk? How do you respond?
Okay. I think it's a good question. Let's talk about Russia. So again, I think it's a good exercise here if you're listening to try and think about this from the different players on the board's thing without having to be like taking a side. I'm not pro Putin and I'm not really pro Trump here. I want to. So here's the thing. It is worth saying that we're going to talk about Iran in a second. We're talking about Greenland and a couple other things. It is worth saying that what has been happening in the past, I don't know, few months, maybe a year, has been provably bad from the Russia POV. Russia and their focus on Ukraine, which by the way, as of today, is now longer than the Eastern Front of World War II, Russia has been spending more time fighting in Ukraine than they did fighting the Nazis in World War II. It's fucking crazy how long this special military operation has lasted, how many people they've lost, how much damage it's done to their economy. However it breaks down, it's been pretty disastrous.
Doesn't Russia say like they have to go and eradicate Nazism from Ukraine? It's crazy that there's apparently more Nazis now.
Apparently they could beat the German Nazis
Not the
at
German
the height
Nazi
of their power
party, right? Yeah.
more than they could beat the fictional Nazis they created in Ukraine. But Russia has had, like, if you had blue pieces or whatever for Russian pieces.
We got black ones here, yeah.
And you spread them out over like Syria and all of the, and Venezuela and these bases that they've had, these Iran, these are all places where Russia has invested money, weapons, investment, training, and every one of them, like dominoes, has been like weakening or falling as they've focused all of their energy on Ukraine. They have not been able to supply the support that they used to provide.
Yeah, their Venezuela piece has been booted out by the U.S. That's
at the same time.
That's like that's the oil tankers. We're taking their oil their tankers by force. They can't even get to Venezuela now.
Right. Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, like what actually hurts Russia is if the Venezuela oil is pumped and sold to anyone, it doesn't matter. It's like the whole point is like if the oil price is low, countries like Russia are screwed because they make all their money on a high oil price. So,
yeah, you don't want the U.S. to have that point of leverage,
right?
The
ability to just flood the market with oil. Which again, this is a unique thing in history because until the shale boom and possibly this Venezuela thing, America was always a massive net importer. They were always like at the mercy of essentially OPEC. And so only in recent years has it been like they can kind of stand on their own.
Wasn't that from an American POV? There was another part to the oil too, right? It's so Venezuela has all of this heavy crude oil that we happen to have the facilities in the US to refine. A lot of the refineries in the US are built to refine that type of heavy crude oil.
Yeah.
The shale oil that we produce kind of in recent history is like a lighter crude oil that gets refined elsewhere in the world.
Yeah.
There's different supply chain to refine that type of stuff is in other countries, notably in China, in Japan, in other parts of Asia. So like you don't have full control over the supply chain of like how the oil is refined and created.
Right.
And it's also, to a degree, some of the places that refine it are within other spheres of influence, right? So either within China's like sphere of influence or directly in China, physically closer to it, I mean, or literally closer to Russia in places like Estonia, for example. So the US gets control of it's not just like access to the oil itself, but it's like you're removing the pieces of leverage that the other players have at
100%.
the table to influence you.
100%. So you can see, again, I think the big picture, I can see the argument, and that's why this is made. I always have a problem with the chaos in the details and the where it breaks down.
What you're getting weird because it's never backfired. I don't understand. He keeps bringing that up, and it's like
Okay,
I can't think of one time.
Let's jump to an example where it might backfire.
I did get
and it didn't work.
I got like a
jump to an
huge
example.
head injury
Name
last
one
year.
time.
I don't remember a thing past, I don't know, January of
2005.
2024. Well, I can't think of a single time this has backfired.
Let's go to where it almost certainly will backfire, and that's Greenland. Because again, like every day, he's saying more and more concretely, we will take Greenland no matter what, whether it's paying them, which I think is what they're hoping to do, which is just do a big 100,000 per person, get the Greenlanders to vote on it.
Patriot dividend.
And then they all just go into America. But whether he's like really concrete about it, and Europe is more and more getting forceful about what the fuck are you saying? Like France came out and said something, Germany said something, the UK said something, and the UK, Keir Starmer of the UK has bent over backwards for Trump on almost everything. Like he has done his best to keep this UK-US special relationship alive, and even he was like, "That's a line. Like the Greenland thing's a line because it's European territory. It's part of the EU, it's part of NATO." So here's what I'll say. Is like, if you think about America in this great game of the risk of the world.
Of the risk.
There's 3 superpowers it has, right? Number 1, it's got like the best geography, probably in the world. Like it has incredible natural oceans, tons of resources, yada, yada. Number 2 is it has this incredible network of allies and systems that it set up after World War II that just puts it on top of like most things.
Mm-hmm.
Trump just left 80 different organizations in the past 6 days that were all like international organizations. And if we've break NATO. Like this entire sphere of connection, I think that whole superpower is gone. And then the third one is just the economy and the military, which is like still intact. So I guess what I'm saying is like, I would like to hear a steelman on why Greenland, especially because if you look into it more, there's already U.S. military bases there, and Denmark has already agreed if you want to add more, we're chill. Like what? The national security thing doesn't make sense. If you want to mine it or put resources there, they're totally down for that too. Like you can invest in Greenland. Why does it have to be an American flag on it? Why does it have to be owned? And I think Trump answered this in this interview.
This is the really long New York Times one, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so I want to show you this. This is from that New York Times interview. They asked him why he needs Greenland, because I want to do it properly. Really, to me, it's ownership. Ownership is very important. They asked him the question that I just asked, which is like, why don't you just mine it and put military troops there for everything you need? And he's like, because that's what I feel is psychologically needed for success. I think that ownership gives you a thing you can't do, whether you're talking about a lease or a treaty. Ownership gives you things and elements you can't get from just signing a document, that you can have a base. Psychologically important to you or to the United States? Psychologically important for me. So maybe another president would feel differently, but so far I've been right about everything. I think Greenland's fucking crazy, man. I don't get it. I don't get it.
I love the follow-up. And would you use military force to get that? Trump. I didn't say that. You said that.
I'm asking you, would you? Yeah, I wouldn't comment on that. I don't think it'll be necessary.
I don't know, man. It doesn't seem necessary. I would get it. It would make a little more sense if Greenland was Alaska, and you're like, we want something that's right next to Russia. Like, Alaska and Russia we are right next to Russia. And like that, I would kind of get of like wanting to make sure you have control of, bases that are right next to Russia at the
But this is right
side.
Next to Russia too, right? It's all
Greenland?
at the top of the world. Yeah.
I guess so.
Yeah, it literally is. That's what I think that's the big question. Is this is all packed in at the top of the world? There are military reasons for doing this. There's reasons to control these like shipping lanes in the Arctic that are going to open up as like more and more of the ice melts. Shout outs climate change. Shout outs to opening the shipping lanes up there.
Just look, there is a lot more space between Greenland and Russia than Alaska and Russia. Alaska and Russia is like a half mile.
But it is all there. There's a really good. I've watched it twice actually. It's funny. I watched it last year and I watched it again recently. But there's a really good Wendover video about this.
Yeah, I love it.
About like the basically the scale of like military capabilities in the area from Russia and what the US has available to them, and like why the US wants to build military capabilities in Greenland. I think what you're saying is that a lot of the ways they would want to compete militarily or develop things militarily could just be done by saying, hey, Denmark, could we build this out in Greenland?
Which is what they did in like after or around World War II with NATO. Like, and Denmark's already said they're open to it. We could go to them and say, hey, we're allies. This thing with Russia and China, especially Russia, you don't like Russia, Denmark, we don't like Russia. Let's increase our capabilities in Greenland. We already have a military base there that's staffed with soldiers right now. We could add another one or we could expand it. Denmark would be down. But there's like a need from this president to like put a flag on it and make it. He wants the big, he keeps posting the image of the America that's like extra big.
And I think it's going, I think this is doing this insane that you're talking about. It's like you're slowly losing one of your superpowers, which is these deep ties and alliances to like the rest of the world that you've developed over so long. And now we're in a place where in December, Denmark officially labeled the US as like a potential security threat. Like it's like
insane. They're both in NATO. They're both in NATO.
And I also I really wanted to talk to people who live in Greenland before this episode. And unfortunately, the ways I was trying to contact people, I didn't get a hold of anybody in time. I was able to contact a handful of Danish people that I'm friends with, and one of whom has like closer ties to family in Greenland, but I haven't interviewed anybody who lives in Greenland yet. But it's interesting hearing like the Danish perspective on this, which is that there's this increasing like there's always been like a haha funny, like look what America is up to attitude, especially from young people, but from Danes broadly there. And I've experienced that firsthand, just like visiting and talking to like people, whether they be young or old or whatever, right? But it's turning into this like more this like, haha, but it's like maybe not that funny now between people when they talk about it. This uncomfortable feeling that something is coming to a head. And also Danish people confronting a history with Greenland that they never really had to before. I think one thing interesting one of my close friends mentioned was he felt like in school in Denmark, you never really learn much about Greenland, even though it's a part of the kingdom of Denmark. But he even learned about things in the U.S. like the ramifications of Jim Crow laws. But he barely learned about Greenland. And he was remarking on like how insane that is, but how that's a very shared Danish experience of feeling like you don't actually know that much. And while Greenlanders are caught in the middle, who generally have this feeling of, we don't want to be fucked with by the US, but they're also going through a time period where they kind of want independence from Denmark with some asterisks on it. People broadly want independence from Denmark. Like I think over 80% do. Damn. But a huge chunk of that 80% only want independence if it comes with like no large economic ramifications, which there are most certainly going to be because of the amount of like funding and support that comes from like Danish tax dollars. So there's a bit more of a controversy to it. And it also puts Greenlanders in a weird spot, right? Where like this outside force is constantly threatening you and you have to like play nice with like the defense from Denmark that you're actually trying to space yourself away from and you probably want independence from in the long run, and also like economically supports you. You just want to like live your own life, develop your own economy, have your own sense of like national identity, like you largely already do in so many respects. And you're caught between, the world's number one superpower probably, and your, effectively colonizer in a historical context. And you have to like pick a side because everybody's like fighting over you. It sounds from the loose description of Greenlandic feelings that I got through these people, from the people that they know in Denmark. I understand that this is a chain of like hearsay. It's that people feel very like trapped and want everybody to fuck off. Right. But there's no way of having that happen. And you're caught at the center point of this giant political battle.
Real quick, do you guys know, so I hear about the importance of like the Northwest Passage and the Arctic Circle, particularly in the context of global warming causing more of it to be accessible. But why would that be such an important route anyway? Like if you think about it from the American or Canadian perspective, you can sail from the east coast of America to Europe. You can sail from the west coast of America.
My understanding is there's some pretty
Asia.
Open, or once that melts a little more, there's some pretty insane, faster trade routes, especially to rising places in Asia through the Arctic Circle. Secondly, the lowering ice levels is revealing like massive amounts of rare earth minerals. Okay. So it's like just becoming like the Arctic is like it's a race right now because it's an area that nobody cared about. And now it's like, oh, this is actually really valuable. The routes are valuable. The minerals are valuable, etc.
A bunch of stuff is like a bunch of the minerals or like resources available in Greenland right now are financially difficult to access. Like you couldn't even necessarily profitably take a lot of the resources that are available in Greenland, but presumably at some point in the future, you'll be able to.
Yeah. It's interesting.
I will say one thing that, you talk to the friends that from around the world who like, it kind of sucks for the last like 10 plus years. I feel like they're always like, what the fuck are you guys doing over there? It's kind of a bad feeling to have everybody feel that way all the time. It doesn't mean like they're always right, but I do get that sense of it's, even having these conversations with Danish friends, they're like, you guys are psychos right now. Like, what is happening? Oh, my friend, so the contact that's trying to introduce me to somebody in Greenland, his like screening question was like, well, what side is he on? Like, is he like a normal guy? Because if he's, if he's in the Trump camp, like he doesn't want to talk to me, which I totally.
So you took off your MAGA hat, right?
And I took off my MAGA hat.
Like, I don't know how
I took a selfie and I said, Kamala 2028. That's what I said. But it is a frustrating feeling.
What
of
if
like,
he's a Trumper? Did you ask whether he's in support of this or not?
Actually, I picked and I guessed wrong.
Yeah, coincidentally, you didn't get the interview.
He's a Greenlander who wants the U.S. to come in.
Yeah.
I get that, and I do. I mean, you have a lot of European friends. That's a very European thing. I will say, like, I feel like if I'm reading a lot of European sources that are saying like some of this stuff is like a little time delayed. Like, the AfD is about to be the biggest party in Germany. The RN's about to be the biggest party in France. Yeah. Maloney just won it. Like, it's not like, maybe they're not as crazy as MAGA, but there's a trend that's happening in Europe as well that I think is being, I think they're like willfully ignoring it to just focus on America.
I think I get what you're saying. It's not that maybe this isn't a great example, but it's kind of like how like Boris Johnson was leading the UK for a long time and he was seen as like the UK's Trump or whatever.
Yeah.
But Boris Johnson talked about how he didn't like Trump all the time. It's like I think there's this collective idea that like it's not just that we're doing right wing or like left wing politics. Everybody's like, you guys have a psycho.
No. But Boris Johnson is like he's not really a Trump, right?
I don't think he is. I'm not saying that.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that I think
like a Nigel Farage, mate. Like there's these parties that are coming up that are way more like. I don't know what the word is, but like they're MAGA, like they're more like nationalistic. They're more, and so I think Boris Johnson was more of like the center left, center right, back and forth. Kamala, Mitt Romney type.
I mean, maybe they're on a trajectory to, but it's like even talking to the one Venezuela friend last week, right? Who had very pro things to say about the U.S. and even Trump in the specific instance of his. Of progress as he's seen, or the hope of progress for his country. That was off the back of him complaining about Trump in a bunch of different ways for the way that, immigration is being managed and the consequences that Venezuelans and many other people across Latin America like face in the United States, right? And or even when the more limited number of friends in like Asia or Australia, they're. Maybe you're right. Maybe we're just on a trajectory of them to like catching up with the chaos at some point. It feels like I've slogged through a decade of the world collectively pointing their finger at me.
Yeah, he's uniquely. I mean, the last 2 weeks are crazy. Like we captured the president of a country we're not at war with, and now he's threatening. I mean, this is going way beyond what the normal. I feel like Trump chaos can in many ways be defined as like a lot of crazy talk, and then not always backed up by action, probably more often than not.
This term has been,
and then this term's been crazy, and then this year is nuts. Like do this in Greenland and Venezuela in the span of a week is fucking crazy. And now he's talking. I mean, we'll get to Iran, but he's talking about how the military will intervene if they keep cracking down on protesters. Like, are we about to get into like 3 different conflicts? Anyway.
You guys always say I'm the chaotic one.
Yeah.
I'm riding motorbikes around. I'm tossing lemons. Okay, I get a little out of pocket sometimes. Think about what Brandon does. He walks in here with his hulking body. Surely we're breaking some sort of code.
We can't make everything about how I'm fat.
Some sort of code in this building. This whole place is out of whack,
Vanta,
and we need something to keep it in order.
AI-powered security expert that scales with you. It's not about how my large body is.
Where Vanta comes in.
And it couldn't scale with you, Brandon.
Whether you're a fast-growing startup like Cursor or an enterprise like Snowflake, Vanta fits easily into your existing workflows. No matter whether you're a huge...
Don't call me a snowflake.
Huge company like Atrioc. You can keep growing a company your customers trust. Get started at vanta.com/lemonade. That is VANTA.com/lemonade.
Lemonade.
I'm working out.
But maybe drink a little more water.
But I am.
Just clean up water.
Lemons.
Vanta, can you give me security from these guys?
They can't do that. They can't keep me away from you. Here's the deal. You can look at AG1 and you can think, wow, 1 scoop of this, 75 plus ingredients, probiotics, all those healthy things. I don't care. I don't care about that. I saw the word citrus on the packet. Mm-hmm. I poured it into my water. I tried to smoke it. They said not to do that. So
At
I
home,
stopped.
you just eat bland oatmeal and water, and this is the first time you've seen flavor in a year.
Right. And I added that into my water, and I'm pretty happy with the taste. I've just been drinking it. I know that it's like a whole it's healthy for you. I gotta be honest with you, just love the taste. I just kind of like the taste.
Well, there's 50,000 verified 5-star reviews that agree with you. It comes with a 90-day money-back guarantee. Go to drinkag1.com/lemonade to get their best offer.
For a limited time only. Keep going.
You keep going.
Get a free AG1 duffel bag and a free AG1 welcome kit with your first subscription order. Only while supplies last. That's drinkag1.com/lemonade.
drinkag1.com/lemonade.
I've heard it's the year of health for you, Mr. Brendan.
Not every ad reads me about how I'm fat,
I didn't say that.
but you implied it.
I did
didn't
not
say
say
it.
that.
You implied
Lots
it.
of people are trying to be healthy.
Give me the taste.
With
I need to feel better
75.
Do you think if they run out of the duffel bags, but you have a lot of conviction, you could still get one?
Let's go to Iran because it reminds me. What you just said about your friend in Venezuela reminds me. I've been talking to 2 people in Iran during what's going on right now, and a couple people who live here who have family there. And I'll just give the broad overview here, which is that we talked about the whole history of Iran on this podcast before, and how we with the U.S. doing almost Great Britain's bidding to cause the initial revolt that took out Mohammad Mossadegh and led to the Ayatollahs taking over. Okay. So the Ayatollahs have ruled Iran for a long time. And I'll just say, much like Venezuela, it's been horrible. It's been a very badly run country. All right. Economically, it's done very poorly, very repressive. People aren't generally happy. The average person is not very happy. And they've had a lot of protests and riots and mini revolutions escalating over the past few years. The most recent one in 2022 and 2023 was because a woman got executed in police custody for not wearing the face covering correctly. And there was a massive nationwide protest. They got pretty big. People thought it was going to be a thing. But this, as my friend told me, every single time they try, the reality of the ground is that the Ayatollahs and the government has the weapons. They have the guns and they win. And they wait it out. And they use the power they have, and the protest ends. This time around, it is a little bit different, primarily because this one kicked off because the economy has gotten to a point of true disaster, which is recently, I guess in the past year, you could say, the Iranian rial has gone from 50,000 to $1 to 1.5 million. The value of the currency has turned to ash. And so this protest around kicked off not from any massive political movement. It started because all of the people in the center of the city, like the markets, just started shuttering their shops and getting angry because they could not they couldn't sell anything. The prices were changing minute to minute. They could not sell food. Everything in Iran, especially most things that are do with food, like let's say milk, water, a lot of things are imported. And when your currency collapses, the importing cost goes to the moon. You can't get anything. And so, there's been political revolutions in a lot of countries and they go one way or another. But usually when you get to the point of financial collapse, that is the end times for a lot of regimes in history. Yep. So this has ended up being a massive, massive protest. You could call it a revolution. It's become huge. It's spread across to dozens of cities all over Iran.
When did this start? This has been going on for a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks?
I feel like around 2 weeks, maybe.
Because I know it's ramping up in intensity rapidly, but it feels like it was in the last week that people started to talk about this and be like, wait, these protests are big. This is a big, big thing going on.
They've gotten very big. And it's interesting. So one of the people I talked to, this is the first guy to reach out to me, and I got their passports and everything and to confirm. Why'd you move everything?
We can't have the Chinese pieces be.
Oh, I see.
Oh, okay. All
Fine,
right.
sure.
Okay. All right.
All right, sure.
We're going to change.
Sure.
I'm listening.
Okay. So I talked to the guy in the country, and he had a very similar thing to what you said on your guy.
Russia has a lot of Asian roots too, Aiden. I think we got to swap.
I had to change it.
Sorry, go ahead. Go ahead, Drock. We'll replace them with blue dice. Here we go.
There we go. And we're going to roll that and see what happens. Because this is happening live. I just want to say, this is happening live. The currency went to shit. People are protesting. At the same time, the Iranian government, they used to be doing like food subsidies. So like if you were going to buy water or milk or food, they would give you the preferential exchange rate, which is like a fake number they made up to change your dollars change your dollars. But they stopped doing that because they couldn't afford to keep doing it because the currency had gotten so bad. So they canceled it. Once they canceled it, the riots really kicked off. This has gone crazy. So my guy in the country, he said similar things to your people in Venezuela, which is like, they want Trump insofar as he is useful to them. You know what I'm saying? Like they don't, whatever they feel about America, they're like, in the immediate term, my greatest enemy is the Ayatollah who has bankrupted my country. And so they would like, I mean, from his POV, he would like Trump to help in some way. They would, or someone to come in and help, because this is where it gets a little more serious. And I don't want to spend too much time on this because I don't have the footage. I need to review it more. But the general idea is that right now, like in the past 3 days, it has reached a point where they're now like open firing on protesters. And I don't have a body count and no one has a verified one, but it's like a lot of people dead, like a lot. Like,
the latest was
minimum hundreds.
Yeah, 500 is the number.
I've heard it could go into like he is claiming higher. And so, and some of the footage he sent me, which again, I have to spend more time verifying, is like horrifying. So there's clearly like a brutal crackdown going on to shut down this protest, but they haven't done anything to make the economy better in any way. Like it is an untenable position. So what happens next? I don't know. Trump, and again, like I said with Venezuela, it's tough for me, even hearing all this, to think it's a good idea for us to get involved in the Middle East again in a military way. It is just so often ended in disaster. So often we don't do it for good reasons. And like, you know what I'm saying? Like, but this is at the point where Trump has said, help is on its way. He said this an hour ago. Help is on its way. Keep protesting, Iranian patriots. Take over your institutions. This is 1 hour ago.
Oh my God.
So this is live. Like tomorrow we could have a different story. But I will say that 24 hours ago, the guy I know that's in the country was telling me how, because I traced his excitement level. He was getting really excited. He was like, things might actually change. And then 24 hours ago, he was getting like immensely depressed. He was like, I think this is going to end the way the other ones did. Brutal crackdown. They're going to kill a bunch of people and nothing's going to change. So he is like desperately asking. So I don't know. I don't know where I stand on this other than that I'm massively against the Ayatollah of Iran. Like that's, but that's where we're at. That is where we're at. And so if you did this, we're going to zoom out and not be on such a local level, on a geopolitical level, Iran is the key to the massive Strait of Hormuz, which is like where tons of global trade goes through. They can mine it up, and it's where China gets all of its oil from through that strait. It is incredibly important in this like Putin, Trump game of risk. If Iran were to flip or to have a government that is more pro-West, it would be drastically different. So I assume, based on what happened in Venezuela, that any extra money in Russia or in China is like, they don't want anything to change.
Yeah. This is what's so baffling to me about the Greenland thing. The Greenland thing is not time sensitive. It's pissing off all of our allies, but at least there's some logic in psycho risk of taking Venezuela and booting Russia and China out. There's logic in supporting Iran so that you can boot China and Russia out and have like this massive leverage you control on the oil supply globally, right? That in theory, if everything goes perfect, it's a huge deal. But like, why Greenland? But anyway, yeah, this is also just looking at the most recent numbers. Human rights activists, a human rights activist news agency is saying at least 2,000 people have died in the protests so far. And then another group is saying more than 6,000, but obviously you're not going to get completely accurate numbers.
I mean, I think this is something that could change very quickly after we record this, like literally by tomorrow or the next day. It could be dramatically different.
There could be
I think
military action.
Maybe to answer your question, this is a guess, right? Because these are difficult questions, and like as we try to figure them out together and gain even a semblance of understanding of how this stuff all works. I feel like in Greenland's case, if you're at a time where this feels politically possible as Trump, and you think this is beneficial. It could just be the psychological reason that he described, right? But if Greenland is on this trajectory to kind of become its own independent place, like free of Denmark's oversight, then you're losing your potential line to approval of all the actions that you want to take in Greenland. Like you may no longer get that approval of military bases or the mining you want to do down the line that Denmark might be willing to allow because that place is seeking independence. So you want to grab it for your own before that comes to fruition. That's just a guess.
Yeah, maybe that's POV. Maybe.
I think he
I think he legitimately wants the map to look. You know what I'm saying?
He
Like,
legitimately just wants the map. Look, he probably looked at the risk board, and Greenland is part of America in the risk board.
He's like, it's a little closer. And to be fair, when I was a kid and I looked at the map, I was like, Greenland looks like it's part of North America.
Yeah.
I did have that thought as a child.
And Trump wrote that down and said, that is my future policy.
He locked that in.
And no, it's crazy. I do think it is, of all three, the most, I'm kind of against, except for maybe, listen, if I could trust that Trump was not a fucking psycho, I could say, like, if you were at close ties with, let's say, the UN and Europe, and you had these institutions we built after World War II, you could have a coalition that's like, hey, I think we all agree what's going on in Iran is a problem, and we're going to send some people in to help try and break these protesters or whatever. Like, there's like something you could get where it feels like more of a global united front. But because of what he's done in Venezuela and possibly in Greenland, it feels way more self-serving, even though I do think what is happening to the people protesting. I mean,
I have kind of a question and a more of a feeling about this because that I feel like as in my position, that's all I really can do, right? I can try to figure out and understand why these things are happening, and then I feel a way about it. Do you guys think, like, when I look at Iran and I look at the way that people are going to suffer and die there in this potential transition of power, I think there is something about, if you have the capacity to help those people, then you should. But my difficulty with this stuff is it's very clear that the US doesn't intervene because of altruism.
right.
There are reasons that we choose to take actions in specific places to benefit some sort of larger outcomes or gains or whatever, right? And because of that being the reason we choose to do things, I don't have faith in the execution of how that help is brought about. We seem to, in any time where that help is being offered, there seems to be a lot of externalities that often come at the expense of the people that we were supposedly helping in the first place. And I don't have faith in that action being taken in the best interests of those people. So I'm scared to be supportive of it being offered. Even when something like this is happening. I feel like morally conflicted about that because I don't like, dude, like just because you woke up and you were born in Iran and you've lived your life there and you want more freedom around your life, like the government gets to shoot you in a protest. That's fucked up. I don't want that to happen to anybody. How have you guys weighed that at all? I don't.
Yes,
I'm wondering
when I'm talking to this guy, I'm weighing it because he is the guy I'm talking. And I'm talking to two people, and they have different opinions. One of them is more measured, but the guy that I'm talking to the most, he's like explicit. Like, we just need the help. Like he is desperate for someone from the outside to come in because they have all the weapons, and he is tired of living in deteriorating living standards. You know what I'm saying? And it's tough for me to weigh how I feel. I don't know exactly how I feel on it because of actions in the past, and I've seen how it goes.
Yeah, that's the problem for me is the intention is less relevant, right? Whether it's actually for oil or actually to help people or what the percentage is. It's just that in our lifetime, all three of us, when we were kids, 9/11 happened, and then we were just in Iraq and Afghanistan for 20 years. We blew trillions of dollars on it that we collectively are going to have to pay in debt, and nothing fucking good happened out of it. I'm sure there is some good that happened, but man, it just feels so unbelievably wasteful and destructive, not just to America, but obviously the people there got fucking bombed and died and had everything destroyed around them. And our track record is just so bad that it's so hard to be like, this will be the one.
Yeah.
Iran, this will be the one. It's not going to be like Syria. It's not going to be like Palestine. It's not going to be like Iraq. It's not going to be like Afghanistan. Don't worry. This one's going to be easy. It's like, dude, I don't know, man.
And it's not to say that I'm sure I think it would be naive of me to say that there's probably no learned lesson or shift in approach to like how things are approached back then versus now, right? It's even shown in something like like Venezuela. We didn't just go and invade. It's like we
there was
captured the president and his wife. 80 people died. 80 people died.
Yeah.
But compared to Iraq, very different like start to it or whatever you want to say, right? Or even compared to Panama, like decades before. That was like, I think hundreds or 1,000 people died like when we did that operation in Panama, I can't remember. I'm not saying this that magically makes it a giant ethical step up. I'm just saying I sit in this world of conflict. It's like me passing by. If I walk just at a very basic, remove the psycho game of Risk from the table, and I walk by somebody who's drowning and they can't swim, and I can help them, and I jump in. With a
Then you notice they have
log,
oil in their pocket.
and then I find that they have oil in their pocket, and I say, "Oh wow, Chevron's still with you too. That's kind of wild." And then I didn't even know that. But it's the basic idea of like you're over there like struggling or drowning or whatever. And I'm gonna go fucking help you. I'm gonna go help you. I feel like I'm reading a book right now that's basically all about this. It's Humankind by Rutger Bregman. It's an amazing book. It's one of my favorite books I've read in the past 12 months. And most of us feel that way. It's a book about how most of us feel that way all the time in all of our interactions with other people. Like that's the reality. But that's not how this works. It's like there's all these other reasons and means, and it's like we're willing to leave people behind if it accomplishes certain ends or like what somebody deems to be the greater good. And then I feel bad for being the person that's like, sorry, friend in Iran that's messaging Atrioc, I don't think we can help you. Figure it out. Like, I feel bad saying that, but I also don't want to be like...
It's also worth noting that none of us are making this choice. Like, this is going to be...
I know. The weight of the world is not on me. Yeah. But it's this idea of like, I'm American. I'm a part of this country. In so many ways, I'm still proud to be one. I acquired my citizenship. I'm proud to be American in a bunch of different ways. This is hard to, I feel almost obligated to have an opinion about it because it's my country choosing to do it. Even if I didn't vote for the guy, even if I don't want him to be in power, I have all of these mixed emotions about it.
Your tax dollars fund the military, which is able to make the decision, right? Like we are involved in this weird way. It's weird, man. It's sad.
It's weird. Like, it's like having like, I'm standing next to, maybe I'm a child who can't swim and I'm holding hands with like my dad who definitely could jump in to save the guy. But my dad's kind of like let a bunch of people drown in the past, but I know he definitely could go fish him out.
He pulls him out and
but
then
my dad has a terrible track record. It's awful. And
it's like 1 for 19.
But the guy drowning right now is like, give me the chance. Give me the chance.
I'll take your fucking asshole dad, please.
Please.
I know he's going to rob me, but just come in and...
Yeah. I mean, that's why I've been saying I just, like most things, I think the idea is so much less important than the execution. Execution is everything. Like doing something right.
That I think is what I come back to is like, for the many criticisms you have of Trump, he just does not execute things well. And the oil stuff that we started this off with, I think is a great example of that, where there is no fucking plan. The oil, there's conflicting information all the time. It's not clear what's going on. He's saying there's deals. He's telling people to commit, and none of it's concrete. It's just talk. And so it's really hard beyond all the normal, Trumpisms, it's really hard when he right now is showing just an inability to make concrete things happen.
Yeah, it is funny that like there's all of this baggage with it just from like a country perspective, right? But then you have a president who I would say uniquely stands out of someone who gives like inconsistent answers to questions, delivers with incredible inconsistency. Like,
none of the tariffs is like his big thing.
Has done so many awful things. Like
okay, I want to bring this to one. So the third player that we haven't talked about,
we did about China
that much is Madagascar. So what are they going to do if Iran falls?
Yes. Well, you told me you never played Risk. I don't know
how this game works.
Australia and Madagascar and the islands are the best because you just cramp up all your troops.
Yeah.
I think we're not talking about Australia. And I think during all this chaos around the world, they've been biding their time. They've been building up.
Oh, you think Australia?
I think Alba over in Australia is setting up for a little bit of a world domination that we're leaving off the books.
Alba and friendly Geordie.
They've been eyeing Madagascar. So keep an eye on Madagascar and Perth, Australia, because we're sensing some stuff there. But Iran. So here's, if you're playing 3D chess as Trump and all this works out, and Iran, as you mentioned, if Iran regime is toppled, it is more Western friendly. This part of the world, which has been beneficial to and supported by Russia, particularly in China. I'm actually not exactly sure China's involvement with Iran, but Russia very much so.
They're very close ties.
And if that gets pulled off the board and Russia now loses that piece and China loses that piece after losing Venezuela, that does feel like a big fucking deal. What do you feel like China's view of what is happening in the world is right now? I tried to look into like if there's any real quotes. The only one I could find, Ministry of Commerce from China said on Thursday that no nation has the right to interfere with economic and trade cooperation between China and Venezuela, which he said is between two sovereign states and protected by international and domestic laws. So he's stating like, look, things should be normal, right, Trump? And I don't think Trump's going to go for that personally. What do y'all feel about China?
Yeah, I mean, one thing Trump did say in his press conference is that he will not interrupt the flow of oil from Venezuela to China because that would have escalated this into a...
Wait, I thought he is explicitly doing that.
No.
I thought that they were taking the tankers.
Is Russia? It's just Russia.
So it's Russia, and I think maybe it's like the tankers in the short term are we're taking them, we're selling them, and putting them in a bank account. But the general idea is that Venezuela will be a certain part of China's oil mix that is going to continue. Like he is not interrupting that.
Okay, yeah, that's a big difference then, because again as a reminder, China has invested insane amounts of money in Venezuela. They're still owed a lot of money back, and the way they get paid back is through oil. That has been their deal for 2 decades. So
yeah, I think not doing that is a huge World War III escalation.
That's what I thought it was going. Okay,
he was explicit. He said it
that's
two
good
times.
that it's at least for now.
I think Rubio made sure he said it the second time. I think it was a big. It's like important.
All right.
It's
That's good because that's still that's full on war starting stuff.
And the same thing with Iran. I assume same kind of thing. Like, well, the dream outcome is that like it's a regime change into a real election, into a country that is working with China and the way. You know what I'm saying? It's just like a country that is working for its own interests.
Yeah,
and not. So we don't know, but I think from China's POV, and I was reading a lot about this because they don't say anything. Like their actions have been zero on all of this stuff. They've been doing nothing other than put out a condemn. They put out like we condemn this message. They just talk, but I think they're just like their strategy has always been like do nothing, win. Right? They would wait and see. I think China's waiting and see. And maybe this stuff goes badly, and it's like I'll give you an example. Is one of the things that took down the Soviet Union was Afghanistan. Soviet Union invaded Afghanistan and got stuck there for a decade plus. They lost a ton of money and time, much like we did, and it bled them dry. And it's one of the big reasons that led to the collapse of the Soviet Union. And there's a real thought, I think, in some of these circles on China, like that Venezuela is going to end up being not a good thing. Like it's going to be a quagmire. We're going to have to do we're going to throw money and time and effort and interest at it while they get to condense I think the idea of regional spheres, even though Trump is saying it in the stupid dollar doctrine, is like agreed upon by Putin and Xi and him. They all see it the same way. China's way more concerned with like putting more pressure on Japan, getting more control over East Asia, like feeling like they're the regional hegemon. Putin is way more concerned with Ukraine and Europe. And, it remains to be seen because it's kind of, I thought it seemed like Trump was retreating to this side of the board But it kind of feels like he still wants everything. Like he still is like saying, you can't do shit about Taiwan. We're gonna intervene in Iran. We're gonna intervene in Greenland. We're gonna, like, it feels like he kind of still wants the whole board, but also is like definitely this. That's the vibe I'm getting. So I don't know, but I don't think that China is incredibly pressed.
Yeah, they haven't said anything official that I could find. But if you ask the question of is all this involvement, these changes, does it affect whether China would want to go and take Taiwan? And I think most people would agree that China is probably more cautious about taking Taiwan because Trump has shown he is willing to do stuff. Like he's willing to do things. I mean, this Venezuela thing is crazy. Talking about taking Greenland by force from NATO is fucking crazy, right? And so in theory, I think there's a lot more danger to the Taiwan situation where it's never been clear if the US would actually put boots on the ground to defend Taiwan, right? Or put more boots on the ground.
Yeah, we still haven't said that either, right? We've never said that.
Oh man.
It's always
all
like
implied.
It's all double speak.
Yeah, it's all double speak.
I don't know. I guess I might say the opposite, which is like from China's POV, it feels like the U.S. might be overstretched. You know what I'm saying? Like, and then without, especially if the Greenland thing happens or in any form of way,
Yeah.
like without the European backing, I don't know. Is Trump really going to send U.S. troops to defend Taiwan if there was a?
You know what? That leads to a great news story from this past week. Right now, we spend $900 billion on our military.
Okay.
This is up from $600 billion about a decade ago.
Yeah.
We spend a lot of money on the military. We spend more than the next 9 biggest countries combined. And so Trump has requested that right now, up until this October in 2026, $900 billion is what's been allocated and approved by Congress. Trump is saying that for next year, starting in October, $1.5 trillion.
Sheesh.
So we just increase it by about 60%.
Gold rim tanks.
And this will allow us to build the, in quotes, dream military that we have long been entitled to. And more importantly, that will keep us safe and secure regardless of foe. Trump said that the, quote, tremendous income brought in by tariffs would allow for this spending while paying down the national debt and giving a substantial dividend to moderate income patriots. The tariffs, just as a side note, have brought in about $200 billion in revenue through 30th of September, according to the U.S. Treasury.
I think
you missed the carry to zero.
I think you missed a zero.
Because there's
Might
no
have been 2
way.
trillion. Might have been 2T.
Because like you said, I mean, this is part of that New York Times interview too. They asked them like, all right, you said we're going to cut the national deficit with tariffs.
So that's
we're going to.
Yeah. So the deficit is about 2 trillion, although maybe it's only going to be 1.6. So, okay.
And he said
1.6 trillion.
Give $2,000 checks to every American.
How much is that?
Quite a bit. 300 million times 2,000.
I opened up ChatGPT to multiply
That's the worst.
I'm so brain rotted. Jesus Christ.
So that's quite a bit of chunk of change right there. He said, I'm actually blanking, but there's like 5 other things. And basically the point of this interview was like, we're going to list all these things you said are paid for with
hold on,
tariffs.
only $600 billion to give everybody a $2,000 check.
It'll be lower than 300 million.
No, $600 billion. We pay off that. So we're talking just with that in deficit, we're talking like 3 trillion.
Okay. And then we're going to up our military budget by
600 billion.
600
so we're
billion.
looking at about $3 trillion.
Yeah. And remember that the idea of the tariffs when originally proposed is that they will cause manufacturing to move here. So eventually people shouldn't be paying them. It's like they shouldn't be.
True.
If they're getting paid, it's just a tax.
Right.
The idea is that it's supposed to encourage people to not pay them so they go. So I'm getting this sense that this tariff cookie jar is not only long empty, but he keeps pretending to reach in there and pulling out every new policy idea.
I mean, if this year we get 15 times the tariff revenue of last year,
Right.
the math works.
You're right. God willing. God willing.
And I imported a
15x.
lot of DougDoug mug mugs.
Yes.
Okay.
And I do remember that.
I
I'm
forgot
doing
about
my
that.
part.
I think
gonna
you bought
swing.
one destroyer.
I got lucky. I dodged the 100% tariff. For those who don't remember, I bought $100,000 of mugs to sell as merch. And then right afterwards, Trump announced a 100% tariff from China. And I was like, oh shit, because they're made in China because there's the customized things in this specialized factory. And I thought I was going to...
What happened?
Well, so they canceled it. Xi and Trump met in, I believe, October 31st. My mugs were
And
arriving.
the mugs was top of the agenda.
Yeah. Mugs were arriving. This is in Seoul. This is during the APAC, I believe, summit. So, and this was 1 week before my mugs were coming into the country. And if he didn't lower the tariffs, I was fucked. And they lowered it to 30%.
Still a big chunk of change.
Yeah, no, unironically, I had to pay a bunch of money for tariffs. I believe the amount I paid was something like 195 billion.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
You were most of it
You
this
were
year.
Yeah, it was a big.
That's crazy.
And Trump saw that. He was like,
mug
let's
bill.
increase the
So we
military.
just-
Let's give out checks.
We just need a few more YouTubers to pay to buy
for
mugs.
merch. I think if Logan Paul finally put his money where his mouth is on those Maverick shirts. Okay.
Has anybody checked on Logan Paul and if he paid the tariff on the Maverick shirts last year?
I think that's
'Cause
where
that
we
could
could
be a
find some
lot of
revenue.
money.
Like,
That
it
could
don't
be
pay
a
for
lot.
things. There was, well, you got another thing?
I got a question for
Okay,
you.
tell me. Lay it on me.
Maybe it's what you're going to.
Yeah.
I want you to tell us about JP. Why JP? From my understanding, JP did something monumental. He hit the timeline. He posted on
He
X.
did hit the timeline.
He's like, these are dire times, and I'm posting a Twitter video to explain to the broader public that I'm being politically attacked.
I thought it was pretty fire, but also it is unprecedented. It's never happened. We've never had a sitting Fed chair make a message direct to the public saying the president is trying to indict me to get me to lower interest rates, which is crazy. Yeah, that is what's happening. I kind of did I don't want to go too into it, but I'll just say the takeaway since even that clip I recorded is every central banker in the world basically has come out and signed a letter condemning this. I'm talking about everywhere, like all over. And the general sense is that if, so much of the world economy is underpinned on trust in the US dollar, and that is trust in the institution of the Federal Reserve. If it is felt that he has kicked out Jerome Powell and put in a toady that'll do whatever he says, it's going to have serious consequences. In fact, a lot of people were saying in the central bank community that nobody should accept the nomination to replace him in May until this is dropped and figured out. Because anyone who takes the job now would tacitly be saying that they are 100% under his thumb on raising lowering interest rates. And again, the examples of other countries that have done this are like a who's who of destroyed currencies. It is Venezuela, it is Zimbabwe, it is Turkey.
We're coming back to Madagascar.
You're hitting the Hall of Fame.
This is the
I was
Hall
like,
of
is he going to
Fame?
say Zimbabwe?
These are the all-time goats of currencies going to shit. And it is where they take over independent central bank and they make them do whatever they want. And so, I don't know. I think it's like a under-discussed story because it's like finance or whatever, but I think it's spooky. But there's some pushback I got on this clip, which is about like the Federal Reserve is a fucking institutional cabal of the banks and we should get rid of it. And it's like, that's sort of like the Ron Paul kind of angle. I just want to say, if that is your stance and you are intellectually honest and want to go with that, that's fine. But what we're talking about, Trump is not saying, I'm going to prosecute Jerome Powell to save you from the Federal Reserve. He is saying, I would like to get rid of Jerome Powell so I can keep the Federal Reserve exactly the same, but I own it. He is not, you know what I'm saying? Nobody, it is so intellectually dishonest to be like, wow, Atrioc, you're supporting everything the Federal Reserve's ever done. It's like, whatever you're saying is not what we're talking about. We're talking about a person trying to put personal control on it, which every time it's been done has ended in economic disaster. So I don't need to be like, you can make a great argument that maybe interest rates should free float based on market demand and we don't need a Federal Reserve. You can make that argument, but that is not what Trump is doing. People like put words in his mouth to do whatever fucking idea they're talking about. It's like he's being so clear about what he wants to do, which is replace it with a different Kevin Hassett or Kevin Warsh, who will do what he says and lower them.
Kevin James is also on the team.
Just a Kevin. So
Dude, wait, what's the mall cop movie, but set in the Federal Reserve would be actually fire.
And he's going to segue around. It's gonna be
and
fucking
he's going to
awesome.
defend the Federal
Better
Reserve.
than communist Jerome Powell. Dude, like,
what was
I had a comment calling Jerome Powell a communist. He's like, you support this communist Jerome Powell. I'm like, bro.
Is it like the opposite?
Yes, he's my comrade.
he spent his entire
It doesn't make any sense.
even if you think if you were like the type that says American Democrats are communists, He's donated to Republicans
he's a
his
lifelong
entire
Republican.
life. He's a lifelong Republican.
Yeah.
That's why, okay, the statement on the Federal Reserve from all of these previous Fed governors and chairmen, like, is beautiful. It's a wonderful thing. Every single one across, like completely bipartisan, coming out saying this is a disaster. So I feel like there's real pressure to like make this happen.
That's what I'm saying. It's like,
it.
this is one of the first things where I've seen even Senate Republicans grow a little bit of a spine on Trump, like Tom Tillis and Murkowski from Alaska. They're all saying they will not vote to confirm any of Trump's nominees until this is dropped. Like this, because this is like, it's so obviously baseless. And I kind of covered it in the clip, but the idea that like the cost overruns the Treasury building is some big scheme by Jerome Powell and like you're building a ballroom that has had massive cost overrun. It's just,
it was always 400 million. I've been saying, he keeps bringing this up. He said they keep changing the cost. It was always 400 million.
It's like, no,
I knew it was 400
There's
million.
clips.
Doug knew it was 400 million.
So I don't know.
I would let Jerome Powell spank me.
That's probably you seen young Jerome Powell?
Fair
He's
enough.
a silver fox.
Young Jerome Powell was a silver
fox.
Young as in like 20 years ago. He's 50.
Okay, fair enough.
But he's got.
Fair enough.
Let's pull it up.
Fair enough.
This is such a throw by Trump, though. This whole thing. Like, he could have gotten away with putting in somebody who's basically going to follow his orders, and now everybody's going to be massively critical of it. This is a huge throw.
Yeah, I do think. And by the way, just to be clear, we've talked about the whole.
Are we really? We're pulling. Okay.
Are we? Oh, I'm sorry.
Hey,
Hot
audio
hot
listeners.
or not?
There's
Hot or
a
not?
Lemonade
man
stand
on screen
hot
right
or
now.
not?
I'm sorry, but hot or not?
Yeah, he's pretty handsome.
Okay.
Wait, this is the not covered in the clip. The behind the scenes of why this happened. Have you guys heard of Bill Pulte? Can I pull him up? Bill Pulte is the guy. He's got one of the most punchable faces, bro. Bill Pulte is the guy Trump put in charge of housing, and he has like this almost like a comic, like a Tom and Jerry thing with Scott Bessent, because Scott Bessent is kind of like the adult in the room for this stuff, and Bill Pulte basically jumps the fence and sneaks into the White House whenever Scott Bessent is not looking and brings posters. He's done this like 4 different times. He brings posters, he convinces Trump of something, and it always goes wrong, and Scott Bessent gets furious. I'm not kidding. The first example was like the 50-year mortgage, where Bill Pulte comes in with a big thing that says 30-year mortgage, great president. 50-year mortgage, greater president, or whatever. Like that's when he showed Trump and he got him to fucking do it. And Scott Bessent was furious.
It sounds like a Tom and Jerry cartoon.
That's what I'm saying. So this time around, Bill Pulte somehow finds time with Trump outside of Scott Bessent's schedule, out of his eyes, and convinces him, you need to attack Jerome Powell directly using the legal system. That is the understanding. And now my understanding is from internal leaks or whatever, is that Scott Bessent is fucking furious because this shakes what little credibility the Fed is going to have with their new appointee. It's like, and what I want to say is the markets did not collapse or anything, but in dollar terms, since this happened, this Jerome Powell thing, dollars down, gold is up. And every time something like this has happened, that's the same story. Dollar goes down, gold is up. And it's been a long-term trend, which is like people, whether or not fucking the market goes down or up, people are pulling out. They're finding a risk off from U.S. assets. And we need them to buy U.S. treasuries to keep our fucking debt going. So I will just say, like, I think this seems like a small event, but it's actually incredibly fucking stupid, and I think has long-running effects. And they should drop it immediately. Like they should listen to every voice that's coming out against it from both sides of the aisle and let Jerome Powell finish out his term, which is ending in May. Yeah, that's what I think. Anyway.
All right.
Do you feel like this might, before we wrap it out, might force Trump to like renominate Jerome Powell? Like he's now potentially going to receive so much pushback if he does not leave this guy in charge.
That would be insane.
I mean, that would be
an
incredible outcome.
He said, I don't think he'll do it. I did hear a theory that Jerome Powell might not, he'll not be the head of the Federal Reserve, but he'll be one of the Fed governors that can vote, or he can step down to that position. And he will be what's called a shadow Fed chair, where everyone else voting listens to him instead of the actual Fed chair. Yeah. And he can keep them from lowering interest rates. That is like a possibility outcome that could happen that hasn't really happened before.
Shadow government.
What are we? We're getting to a fucking crazy
Nick
world.
Fuentes is
bro.
gonna hear this. He's gonna go fucking crazy.
Do not say this in front of Nick Fuentes.
Yeah. He might actually say something crazy afterwards. Yeah, I don't know. We didn't even get to get a lot of things that we didn't get to cover today, but we might cover them on our Patreon in our next episode.
You could go to patreon.com/lemonade stand where we do an extra hour of the show every week. And we also do a book club, special tier 2 things. But we did want to cap up this episode with something quick.
Yeah.
Because
guys, we got your feedback about the sponsor last week. In the short term, I want you to know that we dropped that sponsor. And in the long term, we owe you a deeper explanation of our policies and what we're trying to actually do with sponsors we're doing here. So we're working on a video that we're going to put up, I think, publicly on Patreon, where you can sort of see our full thought process, the rules and guidelines that we have and why we take or don't do certain sponsors.
Yeah, because we do have we have a bunch of categories that we said no to going into this. And I think people from last week have this idea that there are no rules or things that we look at when it comes to this. So we want to take the time to talk more about it and know that we keep your guys' feedback in mind. And we weighed it pretty heavily last week. So that'll be in the near future. But in the meantime, we really appreciate your guys' interest and support in the show. And we'll see you guys in next week's episode.
Thanks, everybody. Appreciate you.